Alien Isolation 2 just ditched its custom engine for Unreal Engine 5, and here's why that matters. Creative Assembly spent years perfecting the Cathode Engine for the original Alien Isolation back in 2014. It was custom-built, powerful, and did exactly what they needed. But here's the thing, maintaining and expanding a proprietary engine in 2024 is expensive and slow. Unreal Engine 5 gives them modern development tools, pre-built systems for AI and animation, and access to cutting-edge features like real-time ray tracing without reinventing the wheel. Instead of spending resources on engine upkeep, Creative Assembly can focus entirely on making the xenomorph terrifying and the survival experience visceral. That's the smart trade-off. Now let's talk about what UE5 actually brings to the table when you're trying to make a xenomorph terrifying. Creative Assembly is leaning heavily on two specific technologies, nanite and lumen. Nanite handles incredibly detailed geometry without the traditional polygon overhead, which means the alien itself can have way more detail in its skin, joints, and movement. But here's where it gets scary, lumen is the real game changer. It's UE5's real-time global illumination system, and it fundamentally changes how lighting works in the game. In the original Alien Isolation, lighting was mostly pre-baked. Developers had to plan out shadows and light paths ahead of time. With Lumen, every light source in the environment recalculates in real time. That means when the xenomorph moves through a room, shadows shift dynamically across walls and surfaces. You can't predict where it'll hide because the lighting isn't locked into predetermined patterns. The alien's movements become genuinely unpredictable because the environment itself is reacting to it in real time. Add that to nanite's detail work on the creature's model, and you get something that moves and hides with photorealistic lighting that adapts on the fly. That's not just a visual upgrade, it's a gameplay upgrade that makes the threat feel alive and responsive in ways the Cathode Engine simply couldn't achieve. Now here's where things get really interesting for gameplay. The xenomorph in the original Alien Isolation was terrifying, but it was also bound by the limitations of the Cathode Engine's AI architecture. With Unreal Engine 5, Creative Assembly gets access to a completely overhauled system that can handle exponentially more complex behavior calculations without tanking your frame rate. UE5's animation blueprints and behavior trees are built for modern multi-threaded processing, meaning the alien can track you more intelligently, adapt to your tactics faster, and respond to environmental changes in real time. Think about what this means practically. The xenomorph can now process your movement patterns, predict where you're hiding, and coordinate its hunting strategy, all while your GPU is still delivering 60 frames per second. The Cathode Engine couldn't distribute that workload efficiently. Additionally, UE5's networking improvements matter for potential multiplayer or co-op features down the line, something the original's architecture made nearly impossible. The alien doesn't just move faster or look scarier, it thinks faster. That's the fundamental shift. You're not just facing a more polished horror game, you're facing an antagonist with genuinely next-gen AI capabilities that can make every playthrough feel unpredictable and fresh. This decision reveals something bigger about the gaming industry right now. For years, horror developers clung to proprietary engines because they believed custom tools gave them an edge, that secret sauce that made their scares feel unique. But Creative Assembly's choice to go with Unreal Engine 5 signals a turning point. We're seeing AAA horror studios recognize that UE5's flexibility actually gives them more creative control, not less. Compare this to Resident Evil Village, which used RE Engine, or the Outlast trials on Unreal. Suddenly you realize the engine isn't the limiting factor anymore. UE5 is becoming the standard precisely because it doesn't force compromises. You get industry-leading performance optimization, battle-tested tools, and a massive community solving problems you'd otherwise handle alone. For horror specifically, that means developers can focus entirely on atmosphere, AI behavior, and psychological design instead of wrestling with engine limitations. The real takeaway is that proprietary engines are becoming less of a competitive advantage and more of a resource drain. When Unreal Engine 5 can deliver everything Cathode could do plus significantly more, building custom tech becomes a luxury most studios simply can't justify anymore. So here's what you actually need to know. Alien Isolation 2 is swapping the custom Cathode engine for Unreal Engine 5, and that means better visuals, smarter xenomorph AI, and faster development. But the bigger picture? Modern game engines are finally powerful enough that building from scratch isn't worth the time or resources anymore. Creative Assembly realized UE5 handles everything they need, and frankly, most AAA studios are reaching the same conclusion.